feel like the hustle culture is consuming your life? Today we talk to Patrina Wisdom, an abundance activator and international best-selling author whose groundbreaking work helps women transcend scarcity and embrace their authentic power. We'll uncover the wisdom behind her book, Anatomy of Abundance. It's packed with insights to help you thrive. Authors like you've never heard them before, only on Books with Bridgetti. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Introducing Books with Bridgetti, a lineup of industry experts, award-winning authors and talented indie authors. Buckle up for an unparalleled journey with us. Meet exceptional authors celebrated globally for their captivating narratives. Our authors craft imaginative stories that stay etched in your mind long after the final page. It's not just stories, it's lingering experiences that stay etched in your mind. Our authors share the inspirations that create mesmerizing page-turning stories. Journeys that embody resilience, that turn setbacks into stepping stones, rejections that spark growth, and hurdles that become a catalyst for creativity. From dramas, mysteries, fantasies, children's stories to reality stories, join us as we delve into the inspiration behind the story, discover how authors breathe life into characters, and meticulously craft plots that keep you turning the page. But wait, there's more. We share stories from indie authors as well as Amazon and New York Times best-selling authors. Get ready for an interview that'll have you on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned. Join us only on Books with Bridgetti.
If you're just joining us, then welcome to Books with Bridgetti. Our live stream is brought to you compliments of StreamYard and BeLive Media. Now, if you've never met our amazing guest yet, Patrina Wisdom is an abundance activator. She's an international best-selling author, a TEDx speaker, a podcast host, and CEO of Pure Abundance, Inc. Now, as the creator of Anatomy of Abundance framework, which is trademarked, and Pure Abundance Retreat, she empowers women globally to transcend generational patterns of scarcity and align their highest potential. Patrina's work has sparked a movement against hustle culture, inspiring countless women to live more fulfilled, prosperous lives. So let's welcome Patrina to join me on screen. Patrina, welcome to the show. I am so delighted to have you join me today on Books with Bridgetti. And I'm going to jump right in because the time goes by so quickly when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Patrina, what inspired you to create the Anatomy of Abundance framework?
I love this question. So what inspired me to create the Anatomy of Abundance framework really is my journey. It's one of those things where our biggest gifts are things that come very easy to us and that other people, seek, that they want to know how you've done it. And so for myself, the catalyst in my life was really when I woke up one morning on January 6th of 2009 to go about my day as usual, getting my kids ready for school and super excited about what was to come. And my husband got up that morning, put on his suit and tie, grabbed his briefcase, kissed me and my 3 kids at the time, kissed us goodbye, told us he loved us, and then walked out the door knowing that he was never coming back home. And after going missing, after going missing for about 24 hours and me being extremely worried and texting and calling and just gut wrenching, trying to figure out what was going on, I got that call the next morning that my husband, the love of my life, my best friend, my lover, father to my children, had taken his own life. And it was in that moment that all of the personal development tools and all of the spiritual tools and everything that I had been quote unquote practicing up until that point had to be put into play. Because not only did I find out my husband had passed on that day, but I also found out I was pregnant with my fourth child. So I became a single mom, head of household. I was a full time entrepreneur, and I inherited his financial business in a matter of hours. And so the reason I tell you that is because one of the things that comes very natural to me that other people seek is resilience, tenacity, and an unshakable faith that everything happens for a reason and that there's something for me to learn, but also something for me to teach on the other side. So that was really when I made the decision that I was going to be the example of what it looked like to not just survive certain traumas and tragedies and challenges, but I was going to thrive beyond them and be an inspiration to other women. So it was the Anatomy of Abundance framework that actually took me through that process and got me to the other side of that tragedy. So I wanted to figure out a way to clarify and put into a framework how other women could do that, other people in general, so that I can walk them through it. And so that's where the framework was born, which eventually became the book and has been my life work now since 2009.
Wow, Patrina, that is amazing. That is a lot. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. If there is a woman out there who's now finding herself in that position, and sadly, it does happen, it happened to you, where she is pregnant or not pregnant, but her spouse or significant other has just taken his life. What do you want to say to that woman if she's watching you right now?
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one. What I want to say is what I had to believe in order to get through that situation. And what I had to believe in order to get through that is that whatever was going on in my spouse's life must have been so incredibly painful for him to make that choice and leave his family, the people that he loved. I mean, it had to have been so excruciating that we couldn't even fathom, right? And that no matter how brutal and how traumatic and how challenging it is what you're going through right now, just know that your partner, your whoever it is that you've lost, is at peace and out of pain. That got me through. And also, they're now your angel. And so, one of the things I know is that even though my husband transitioned, his spirit was with us heavy. And when I say heavy, I mean heavy for probably like 12 years after he passed, to the point where when I finally started dating, people who weren't even spiritual and believing in all that kind of woo woo ghost stuff felt his presence. So although they transition, they never leave you. They transition to become your guides, your angels, and just know that they're in a better place and that you can and will get through this because you were chosen to walk this path and thrive beyond it.
I think in the moment, most people feel like they'll never get over it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That, their life is now doomed because of the heaviness that you feel. But
Yes.
your story is there as an inspiration for anyone who finds himself in that position now to know that this too shall pass. It may take you longer, shorter period of time. You don't know, it's different for everybody, but it too shall pass. How is this personal journey of overcoming tragedy influenced your approach to abundance?
I love this question. So it became the catalyst for everything I am now, because what happens when you're married, you have children, you've got your career, you're caught up in the hustle culture of life, right? Achievement and all of this distraction. And what challenges and tragedy and these type of transitions force you to do is to stop. It forces you to stop and really feel what you're going through, right? And be with yourself. And so the biggest gift that I've taken from this is that I learned that I really had to take care of myself, mind, body, spirit, and finance in order to be any good to others. Right. So before my husband passed, the person that I was a people pleaser. I was doing everything, for my husband, for my kids, for the community, for our business, right? Our businesses, and really running myself to the ground in a sense, right? And you can lose yourself in all of the distractions of the world and what they tell you that you should be and what you should be doing. So on the other side of that, I became a lot more intentional, a lot more grounded, because now, oh, and better at time management, let me tell you. Because now I not only had to take care of my children and my business, but like I said, I inherited my husband's financial business as well, which came with an entire team and a book of business. And so you really learn how to prioritize when things like this happen. And I really encourage people to prioritize themselves first, because then you can serve from a full cup instead of being depleted yourself. And just know too that it's a practice and that you never master putting yourself first, because I know I've come so incredibly far with sacred self-care, taking care of myself in so many different ways, mind, body, spirit, and finance. However, I still find blind spots where I'm like, dang it, I did it again. So just know that it's a journey, and whatever you're going through right now, it doesn't have to be as traumatic as what I went through. I mean, it could be a divorce. It could be, you just had a child and you're kind of in that space of like, what the heck is going on with my life? Or maybe you can't have children. Maybe you're wanting to get a new position in your career, right? And that feels like a real challenge. Whatever your transition is, just know that the first step is to reconnect with yourself and to be more intentional about how you're moving forward.
I really appreciate that you say, becoming more intentional, and also managing your time, prioritizing yourself.
Yes.
Those are actionable steps that you can take if you're finding yourself in that situation. Now, having written this framework, could you share a success story that stands out for you from someone who took your framework and then was able to apply it in their life?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I have been doing Anatomy of Abundance not master classes. I'm sorry. What are they called?
Retreats?
Well, I do a lot of retreats. This was a
master classes. Yes.
A mastermind.
Master.
Yeah. It was
okay, got it.
So someone who attended my mastermind, who actually has been in a ton of my programs, she's been to my retreats, she's a part of the book. She's just been with me for years now, funny enough. She was having some challenges, a lot of challenges. She was in a very deep, dark place. She was overstretched, we'll say, financially. She was working 3 different jobs plus her business. She's taking care of her mom. She just had a million things going on and found herself falling into a depression. Okay. For me, that's always a red flag. Like, I'm going to shake the life back into you if I see you, falling into a depression. So she attended my mastermind. She couldn't make the investment. I decided I was going to scholarship her because I knew she needed to be there. And during the mastermind, we're going through all of the steps of the Anatomy of Abundance framework. We're having these deep conversations. We're going through processes to help her break through. And she admitted in the middle of the event, she felt safe enough to let us know that she was on the verge of taking her own life. And so through us walking through these steps of the Anatomy of Abundance framework, holding that space for her, allowing her to be radically honest in that moment without judgment, and working through some of the processes and breakthrough kind of activities that we go through, she completely shifted. And when I saw the shift happen, I immediately was like, we need to go now. I always do my events by the water, by the ocean. And so I said, put everything down. I grabbed her and we ran out to the ocean, and I like literally baptized her in the water. I'm like, we've got to lock in this transformation and give you a completely fresh start. And so we dunked her in the water, and she came out and just looked completely radiant. Since that day, she quit the two or three jobs that she had outside of her business. She got rid of her place. She had always wanted to travel, her and her mom. So her and her mom released all of the physical stuff that the world and society tells us we need to have. And she ended up revamping her entire life around what she really wanted, which was to travel, which was to focus on her business, which is to not be working 3 and 4 jobs to pay the overhead that everyone tells you should have. And she's a completely different person. She's happy. She's no longer depressed. She's making more money than she ever made, even though she's working less than she ever did. She's saving money. And now she's about to take a trip to Thailand with her mom in February. So literally, she went from all of the things that society tells her she should do and being a captive to that, to really sitting down and saying, you know what? What's going to make me happy? Because when you show up in your own joy and from a place of authenticity and serve, like how can I be of a contribution to the world? Then everything starts to fall in place. And so I'm super, super proud of her. Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a really, truly heartwarming story.
Yeah.
You know, a
And you know
real.
that she would be paralyzed because, again, she's also taking care of her mother. So it was radical. It was a radical shakeup of her life and a complete recreation.
Now, when you talk about abundance and abundance mindset, is that limited to material wealth, or does it go beyond material wealth?
No. So that's why the book is called Anatomy of Abundance, a conscious guide to creating prosperity in all aspects of life. Because this book addresses mindset, spirituality, actual finance, creating your physical wealth as well. Because I brought my personal development and transformation background together with the financial education and strategies that I gleaned when I took over my husband's financial business. So it's bringing them both together, because you can run and chase that physical wealth. There's strategies to do that, and you can, make all the money in the world, but you also have to have the mindset and kind of clear out a lot of those generational money stories that we have and blueprints, and learn how to reframe those things and really step into and embody the truth of who you are as an abundant creator.
Wow, that is pretty powerful, and thank you for sharing that. Now, on the journey to abundance,
Mm-hmm.
people generally feel that you can't get there unless you're part of the hustle culture and it's
Right.
become normalized.
Yeah.
How can we as women break free from
Yeah.
that hustle culture?
Well, I think it starts with really knowing what lights you up, first of all, right? I think that we're so used to putting ourselves last on the list that a lot of times we can't even access like what really makes us happy, right? Or what we really desire. And I'm a big proponent of play. Literally, anybody who knows me, it knows that if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And not in the irresponsible way, but just in the way of if it's not something that is contributing to me while I'm contributing to others, I don't want to do it. And so the key is to slow down. The key is to slow down. The times when I'm the most creative, the times when I make the most money is when I'm doing something fun. So, yes, do I have a business to run? I do. However, do I have to do it in an office every day? No. I'm sitting outside right now. Sometimes I'll take a trip and go to another country. I can still work and get my business done. So just find ways to bring yourself joy. For me, texture, color, fragrance, all of these stimulations, different stimulation, and having things that I love around me when I'm working. That could be a way for me to just kind of slow down, be more present, more intentional, and in my joy. Because when we create from that space, it permeates and it attracts people to you. And so I believe in joyful creation. I like to create more of an easeful life and not kill myself for it, right? Because the truth of the matter is, you can go and make all the money in the world, but money goes up, money goes down, it comes, it goes, right? So if you attach your self esteem, your self worth, and your happiness to an actual paper dollar, your life's going to be a complete roller coaster. Can you have joy when your bank account is at zero or negative? Can you have joy? Believe it or not, some people get really uncomfortable and depressed if they have too much money. Why? Because they feel guilt. They feel like they're leaving people behind. Maybe they don't know what to do with it or how to manage it, and that stresses them out. That could be something that's also keeping you from creating the finances you desire. So that's why I say it's a mental game, but it's also a strategy game. And you've got to take care of you first and then worry about the external paper, as they say.
Wow, those are real, actionable strategies. So thank you for sharing those. Now, your book is a collaborative book.
Yes.
How did you select and collaborate with the 16 co-authors
Mhm.
in this book? Because I always encourage people, if you're wanting to get into writing and you struggling with getting there, a collaboration book is the way to go.
It's a great first
Um,
step. Hmm.
so what was your process? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I have for over 30 years in my industry been a if it is to be, it's up to me girl. Again, that goes back to our programming, right? And well, 2 years ago, I really got to this place where I'm like, you know what? I know so many amazing, brilliant souls because I've built community over the last 3 decades. What would it be like to have people on this journey with me? People I've worked with, people that have worked with me, people that I know have the juice to deliver transformation. And so I really did it because I just didn't want to be alone on the journey. My first book, Motherhood's Not for Punks, a badass mom's guide to mindful mothering, self mastery, and having it all. That book I wrote on my own. And while it was an exciting journey, it was a lonely journey. And so we as entrepreneurs and high achievers, we have a tendency to be quite lonely. So I wanted to build community in a new way through the book. I had the framework. And so the book is designed around the framework. What I did was I took each step of the framework and I put two authors to speak to each step. So who are you? One person spoke to the higher law, one spoke to the lower law, more of the foundational law, the more analytical, actionable, pieces, things of that nature. And I did that throughout the entire book. So what it did was not only did we get out this incredible content from a diverse group of women from different backgrounds, education, and financial backgrounds, but we were able to really bring together community so that everyone could see themselves in that book or in a certain situation within the book.
Wow. Patrina, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'd like you to reveal what was your most challenging thing to overcome
Hmm.
a scarcity mindset.
Okay.
Introducing Books with Bridgetti, a lineup of industry experts, award-winning authors, and talented indie authors. Books with Bridgetti.
Welcome back. You're watching Books with Bridgetti, and my amazing guest is Patrina Wisdom. Patrina, what was your most challenging thing in overcoming a scarcity mindset?
So this is going to sound really interesting, but I would say there's a few very strong things that I've had to actively work to overcome when it comes to scarcity. One of them, of course, is being money. And the reason is because I didn't really grow up with money or know anything about money. And then joining or earning not earning inheriting my husband's financial business, being catapulted into that, where I then had to learn and lead at the same time. Financial education is something all women need, by the way, and that we beat ourselves up about because we don't feel like we're good with money or we're intimidated by money. And what I've learned is that it's not that we as women are bad at money, it's just that we're quite new at money. So, me being a part of the financial industry now for 20 years, I've learned that we didn't even earn the right to have bank accounts or buy homes until like the 60s. Right. So it's a very new thing, which is why it feels intimidating. So for me, money has been a thing, not necessarily the thought process of there's not enough, which is more scarcity. Mine has almost been like my abundant mindset shooting me in the foot because I'm such a great creator of money, right? And because I'm so creative, I'm always wanting to put these things out to the world and serve. But then that causes me sometimes to put myself last because I want a scholarship or I want to move forward with this great program so that I can reach everybody, but I may not have the numbers. And I do it anyways. And I, steal from myself to make all of these amazing things happen. And I'm being very vulnerable right now because this has shot me in the foot many times. So scarcity looks a lot of different ways, which is why we need community and mentors and people we trust around us to call it out. I had no idea that I was still, in a lot of ways, putting myself at the back of the line. But it's very tricky because a lot of that programming is subconscious. And so money is really like one of the big things. But part of that as well is almost like on a deeper level, it has something to do with worth still, because there are opportunities that I'll allow myself to either bypass or pass on again because I'm like, in this abundant mindset, that are for me. Or sometimes, and I know a lot of people watching can relate to this, you feel like, well, there's already so many people in this particular lane. Is there room for me? So I've had all these struggles. I've had all the struggles that everyone else has. Some people call it imposter syndrome. I don't really call it imposter syndrome because I know my power and my worth, but I'm so quick to share and to spotlight and push up other people that sometimes I find myself putting myself in the back of the line. So again, scarcity can look a lot of ways. Those have been two of my biggest struggles.
Now, we did touch on this a little bit earlier, but the book is about empowerment, but how do you think we can create generational change? Because even after all these years, I feel like it's still a work in progress.
It absolutely is. And one of the things that I tell women and that we have to remember is that there's no quick fix. We live in this microwave culture where everybody wants answers now, change now. Like, what can I do now to change this forever? It's not going to happen. Personal development and transformation is an ongoing journey. And as soon as you feel like you've conquered one thing, there's another level. Like I said, like I am the queen of sacred self-care. I feel like I put myself first all the time. And then literally just this weekend, a blind spot was illuminated where I realized I was still putting myself in the back of the line at times. And so it's ongoing. I think the real key is to stay intentional, to really stay connected and aware. Surround yourself with the right people in the right community and the right mentors so that they can hold you accountable to your greatness and call you out on your, I think I can say shit here, right? Call you out on your shit when you're not being your big self. Because that's the thing, is we've got to have someone there to mirror us, right? And our greatness.
I'm going to, I don't know, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but
No.
We don't want to give too much away from the book, but could you mention maybe one or two practical strategies that people will find in the book that they can actually implement? Because there are books and there are books and there are strategies, but sometimes you read something and think, no, this is not going to work for me. But I think you've been on that journey yourself. So could you share maybe just one or two strategies that you think are actionable that people can apply in a real world situation?
Absolutely. I'm actually going to mention two. One, more higher law, one more practical, actionable right now that you can change tomorrow. So, the first one that I want to talk about is just to really remember who you are. So, whether you sit down and journal, I like to tell people to do a timeline from when they were young and really just kind of plot out all of the significant events in your life and look at who you were when you were 3, 4, 5 years old and who you are now, and identify the parts of yourself that you've lost or that you've shifted, shape shifted, as I like to say, or abandoned because someone else didn't approve of it, accept it, or embrace it. Okay. And go back and reclaim those parts of yourself. Part of that is actually putting something on calendar for yourself. I call it morning rituals. It could be morning, it could be evening, whatever, but stealing time for yourself, not weekly, not monthly, not annually, daily, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. Actually create time in your calendar for you and make you a priority, just like you do your business, your spouse, your kids, everything, your job. And so that's the first thing when we speak to the higher law. Just really get connected to who you are and what you desire. But as far as the practical steps for really just grounding in and creating more abundance in all aspects, you need to get financially educated. You really do. You need to get financially educated and start to implement slowly or quickly some strategies for redefining that relationship that you have with your money, because there's the mental game, right? And the generational trauma, but there's also this piece of just feeling fear, shaking, trembling with that knot in your stomach, being scared to tackle this money conversation, but doing it anyway, right? And allowing yourself to make those mistakes along the way, but instead of beating yourself up, giving yourself grace and just making new choices in the future. So those are like two things I would start with, because you want to have yourself together. If we don't take care of ourselves on a daily basis and learn how to love ourselves, I talk to myself in the mirror. I'm not perfect. I'm 51 now. My body's changing. I'm going through menopause. Like, there's so much going on. And this is an ongoing thing with all of us. You don't have to be in your 50s going through menopause. Life is always shifting and changing, but the one constant is you. So if you can learn how to stay grounded and peaceful in all situations, it's a game changer. And then again, on the money side of things, building that confidence within yourself in dealing with money and understanding that if you make a mistake, it's not a tragedy, it's a learning lesson, and you get to make new choices moving forward.
I like that. Every new day is an opportunity to do something differently, or to shift, or to
Make new
change. Every
choices.
day is a gift.
Yeah, I think of every day as a day to completely recreate my life. Like, oh my God, if I look back and I don't like what I see a day, 2 days, 6 months ago, then I'm like, oh, delete, erase. Okay, what are we going to create today? What are we going to
Love
do?
that. Love that.
How am
Oh
I
my
gonna
goodness.
Yeah, it's
Now
fun.
you
It's more fun.
absolutely. You've created the Pure Abundance
Yeah,
Retreat.
retreats.
Tell me a
Yes.
little bit about it, and how does that um, amplify or explore the lessons in the book?
Yes. So the Pure Abundance Retreat was born almost 3 decades ago, when I was a massage therapist, esthetician. I owned a salon spa, and I just always wanted to create this sacred space for women to take care of themselves and be pampered. But it evolved after the passing of my husband, because what I realized is, again, going back to hustle culture, we're so busy, caught up in all the things we have to do, that we don't give ourselves time or space to be. So, what I've found with my work over the years is that if I take women out of their natural environments, take them to someplace else, another country or anything, for an extended period of time to do the focused work, and just really allow themselves to land it's completely transformative. And so I do anywhere from 4-day retreats to 10-day retreats all over. I bring like-minded women together. Literally, the first couple days is just getting them back in their bodies and reconnected with themselves. And then we can start to rebuild from there, getting clarity on what their vision for their life is, what the steps are that they need to take to create that, the boundaries that they need to put in place or uphold. And then I send them off to go retrain everybody in their world on how to engage in relationship with them that's going to support them in stepping into their next level. So it's absolutely magical. We get done in a week more than you could ever get done in a year doing a program or a course or anything like that, because it's experiential.
Now, you've done, retreats for a really long time. And having worked with so many women, could you share maybe just one of the lessons that you've learned from the people you've worked with?
One of the lessons I've learned from the people I've worked with is, I would say, courage. The courage to step in and do the work. I always tell people that as soon as they say yes to joining me at a retreat, that's when the transformation happens, because they've made a new choice. They've chosen themselves. They've
I apologize. We seem to have a bit of a technical glitch. Patrina seems to have lost access to internet. It's one of those things, unfortunately. I'm not sure if she's able to get back into the studio, but I hope that you've enjoyed all the gems that she's been able to share with us. She shared a ton. And so if you have not yet gotten a copy of her book, it's called Anatomy of Abundance, and it's available on Amazon. Her book covers breaking free from scarcity mindsets. It covers empowerment and self-discovery, holistic prosperity, and abundance strategies. And I hope that you will grab a copy of her book over on Amazon. And again, she has been doing retreats for a number of years, and her very well-known retreat is called the Pure Abundance Retreat. And I hope that you will have a look at what she does in those retreats and maybe even join her on one of those retreats. She's got a very unusual story, and I want to say thank you very much to Patrina for coming on to Books with Bridgetti and sharing her story with us, and also to our amazing audience. I want to say thank you to each one of you for joining us. Thank you for your comments, and if you are watching the show on the replay, thank you for doing that as well. You're watching Books with Bridgetti, and again, my guest was Patrina Wisdom. It looks like she was able to get back on, so let's just see. Hold on one second. Hi, Patrina. I'm glad that you were able to rejoin me.
Yes, I was like, okay, what happened?
One of those things, with the internet, one's just got to run, go with the flow.
Yeah.
What is next?
I just want to make this point.
Yes.
That life is always lifing. We talked about this in the green room before we started, and this internet issue is actually a great depiction of how you move through challenges with grace and ease. You don't give up. You don't go, life sucks. You just keep trying. You jump back on and you pick up where you left off. So here we are.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Sometimes life happens, and
Mhm.
while we're alive, life will keep happening.
Exactly. Mhm.
Challenges are not going to go away. And sometimes when life happens, you want to be thankful
Yep.
that, for the lessons that you may learn from that experience, because you never know what's going to come out of it. It may suck at the time, but you never know what opportunity for growth it can
Mhm.
present, you
Yeah.
know.
Perfect action, right? We can't control the internet. We can't control what's going on around us. We can't control what people think about us. All we can control is ourselves and the actions that we do or don't take.
Absolutely agree with you 100%. Patrina, what is next for you? What a, you know,
I'm like, oh my God. So remember I talked about putting yourself last in line and, doing things even though you might be a little scared and all of that. So yeah, there's a whole new level of my own power and bigness that I'm stepping into. And I actually did a live on Instagram this morning because I said I would and I wanted to be in integrity with that. But I was just so like scared because I have been given this vision in my belly of a women's summit, and all of my retreats and everything I do is typically like 20 people or less. So I create very intimate spaces so we can go deep. But Spirit's been calling me for about a year to do a women's summit for 100 women to start. So this is going to be next September 2025. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be based on this anatomy of abundance framework where we all get to come together and take a deep dive. I'm inviting my authors to be there. So hopefully a lot of them will accept the invitation, but I'm also going to bring in some other amazing facilitators and teachers. And so that is like the biggest thing. And then I'm also doing volume 2 of Anatomy of Abundance. This one is going to be redefining your relationship with love, sex, and money. So I am looking for people who are interested in sharing their expertise and stories and experience around redefining those relationships as well. So those are kind of the two biggest things on the horizon. I always have like 5 projects going on, but I'm very excited about it.
Patrina, won't you hold up that cover again and just show us? It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover. Now, again, how many, if for your next one, how many co-authors are you hoping to have?
So minimum 10, but I'm ideally 15 so I can have 2 authors per step, again, 2 authors per step in the framework. And I always keep myself flexible. This is also a lesson I'll share with your audience is you want to have your big goal, but the how isn't really our business. And so while I think it's going to be a similar structure as the first book, it may very well completely shift and take a different turn. And so what's most important to me is to find the right co-authors. This isn't an opportunity where you just pay and play. No, I want to talk to you. I want to know what your story is. I want to get inside your gut, right? And pull out the juice. And so finding the right authors. And then once I have the right authors, that's when the real structure and flow of the book will create itself. Because then I'll have a bigger vision of how we're creating the impact and how we're facilitating the transformation. Because I like to do things where you're not just reading and getting information, but where you can take this book and literally walk through it like a guide and do the things on your own if you needed to. Because not everyone has the resources to hire coaches or come to my retreats or do all of these things. And so I want you to be able to just take the book and use it as a guide step by step and implement.
What is the one thing that you would like a reader to take away from the Anatomy of Abundance?
That's an easy one. So the one The one thing I want you to take away from anything and everything I do is that you're not a victim, that you can change your reality and your whole life and your financials and everything just like that, just in a simple decision, and then intentionally taking the next actions. And so I actually have my TED Talk. You mentioned my TED Talk. It's on YouTube. You could go and look up Patrina Wisdom. What's it called? I think it's called, Victim to Victor. That's what it's called, from victim to victor. And that's what my talk is. It's about like really jumping in and taking leaps no matter what's going on, right? Your whole world could be crumbling. And in that very moment, you could be creating the next best thing. And as a matter of fact, that's how Anatomy of Abundance, the book, came about, is that 2 years ago, I was having a really challenging year. And it just felt like nothing was working. Like clients weren't saying yes, and this wasn't happening, and that wasn't happening. But instead of zooming in on the things that weren't working, I took a pause. I sat with myself and I'm like, what wants to be birthed from this challenge? And that was where I said, you know what? I need to get the Anatomy of Abundance framework out there in a bigger way. And then the book was born. So I spent the rest of that year, about 6 months, 5 months, creating this project. And now look, everything else has been kind of pivoting and expanding from there.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. Patrina, I want to just say thank you for coming onto our show today and sharing, and can't wait to have you back with your next book.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely would love that. So to our amazing audience out there who's watching live, and if you're watching this on the replay, if you found Patrina's story as inspirational and as inspiring as I did, go and grab a copy of Anatomy of Abundance. The book is available on Amazon. So do go and grab a copy of that. And thank you for joining us. Until next time on Books with Bridgetti, where we uncover the heart and soul of writing, one author at a time. Take care, everyone. We'll see you again on the next episode. Thank you for joining us on Books with Bridgetti. Join us next time for industry experts and award-winning authors.
I think this might be, I've been on over 24 different podcasts and radio shows in the last couple of months. And this has to be one of the most sophisticated, what the kids like to teach called bomb.com shows and presentations that I've ever been on. It's fantastic. Thank you for having me here.
Available wherever great books are sold near you.